Hello and welcome to this course on programming in C#. My name is Mike McMillan and I'm going to be your instructor. What I'd like to do in this video is just give you a brief overview of what we're going to cover and what you'll need to take the course. So we're going to start at the beginning and just kind of go through a list of the videos that you're going to be watching, and I'll explain the contents of them. This of course is the first video, and this is just our overview. Next we're going to talk about the environment that you need to work in, and that's Visual C# Express. And I'll show you how to download that from msdn.microsoft.com. Next we're going to talk about writing your first program, and that will be a simple Hello World program. And in that we'll talk about the parts of a C# program. After we've talked about that, we'll move to the next subject, which will be data types and variables. And here we'll talk about the building blocks of C#, which are the different types of data you can have and how to put them into variables. Next, I'll give you a brief introduction to classes and objects. C# is an object-oriented program, and the C# environment is an object-oriented environment. So you're going to have to understand how to work with objects. So that will be an introduction to those concepts. After that, we're going to talk about arithmetic expressions and how to create arithmetic programs, in other words, how to do arithmetic. After that, we're going to talk about input and output, how to get data into your program, and then how to get data out of your program. Next will be how to make decisions in C# using the if statement, and we'll talk about different variations of that. After that, we'll be talking about repetition, which is loops, and we'll talk about the different types of loops you can write in C#. After repetition, we'll talk about methods, which are just another name for functions. Creating and using methods is a very important facet of learning C#, so we'll spend quite a bit of time talking about methods. After methods, we'll talk about the first data structure that we're going to look at in C#, and that's the list. So we'll look at lists and how to create them and how to use them. Then after lists, we'll talk about object-oriented programming. And we've already discussed classes a little bit, and we'll go into quite a bit more detail on how to create and use classes in your own programming. The next topic after object-oriented programming is an enhancement of object-oriented programming, and that's inheritance, where we learn how to use previously created objects as a basis for other objects. After inheritance, we talk about polymorphism. Polymorphism is kind of a benefit of inheritance where we can use the same method name with several different objects and have the compiler figure out which method to call. After polymorphism, we're going to talk about another data structure in C#, and that's the array. Following arrays, we're going to talk about additional control flow structures in C#, other ways to do decision making and repetition primarily. After that, we're going to talk about text file processing. That'll be file processing with text files. And then finally, we'll talk about a few miscellaneous topics that don't really fit into any of the categories listed above. So that's what we're going to cover in the course. And like I said before, first thing you'll need, and really the only thing you're going to need, is a copy of the Visual C# Express program. And you can download that from msdn.microsoft.com. And if you go to the next video, I'll show you how to do that. So I hope you enjoy this course. Programming is a whole lot of fun. If you've already taken some programming before, or if you already know a programming language like Java or C++, then learning C# will be fairly simple for you. You're just going to have to learn a few new ways of expressing ideas you're already familiar with. And if you're new to programming, that's okay too, because this course doesn't assume any prior background in programming. So you shouldn't have any problem picking up the topics. I've taught programming to hundreds of students over the years, and I've found that anyone can learn how to program if you just put your mind to it and work really hard. Programming is not easy, but it's not any harder than learning, simple algebra. And in fact, you don't really even need to have that great of mathematical skill to learn how to be a good programmer. What you will learn from programming is how to think through problems logically, and that's probably the most important skill that you're going to pick up. Again, I hope you have a good time. I hope you learn a lot, and let's move on to the next lesson where we're going to see how to install Visual C# Express.